March 8, 1968. The silence of the North Pacific is a deception. Northwest of Hawaii, in the vast emptiness, there is only the wind and the slap of the swell. But beneath the surface, the ocean is a chaotic symphony of physics. Sound travels 4 times faster in water than in air, preserving its energy over thousands of miles, turning the ocean basins into global echo chambers. On this day, that chamber rings with the violent, distinct signature of death. At the Air Force Technical Applications Center, AFTAC, and deep within the bunkers of the Navy's Sound Surveillance System, SOSUS, the needles jump. The sensors listen for the telltale seismic rumble of nuclear tests or the cavitation of propellers. Instead, they register a catastrophic acoustic event. It is short, sharp, and devastatingly loud. It is not the grinding tectonics of the Earth. It is the crushing implosion of a pressure hull. The source is the K-129, a Soviet Gulf II class ballistic missile submarine, pennant number 722. It is a diesel-electric Predator, a 2,700-ton steel tube patrolling the cold void of the Pacific, carrying the nuclear fire of the Soviet Union in 3 R-21 ballistic missiles housed in its sail. It slipped out of the Rybachi naval base on the Kamchatka Peninsula weeks earlier, vanishing into the operational silence of a combat patrol. But today, something goes wrong. A battery explosion, a missile fuel leak, a collision. The ocean doesn't care. The hull fails. The Pacific rushes in, and 98 men die in the dark. Mid-March 1968. For the Soviet Navy, the silence that follows is terrifying. The K-129 misses its scheduled check-in. Then it misses the next one. Panic sets in. The Soviet Pacific Fleet surges into the ocean in a frantic, chaotic mobilization. 40 vessels and 53 aircraft begin to scour the surface, desperate to find their lost boat before the Americans do. They search for 2 months. They sweep with active sonar. They fly grid patterns until the pilots are exhausted. But they look in the wrong place. They search an area of 854,000 square miles, blinded by the vastness of the sea and the limits of their own sensors. The United States, however, is not blind. They watch the Soviets search, and they listen to the data the Soviets do not have. The American SOSUS network triangulates the implosion with terrifying precision, while the Soviet fleet crisscrosses the ocean surface hundreds of miles away. American intelligence analysts sit in quiet, air-conditioned rooms, drawing a small circle on a map at coordinates 40 degree on, 180 degree E. They know exactly where the K-129 has fallen. They know it rests at 16,500 feet, over 3 miles down, in pressure so immense it crushes a human body to pulp instantly. And almost immediately, a thought occurs in the highest echelons of the Nixon administration and the Central Intelligence Agency. It is a thought born of hubris, technical audacity, and Cold War paranoia. If the Soviets don't know where it is and the Americans do, they can steal it. This is the genesis of Project Azorian. It becomes the most complex, expensive, and secretive ocean engineering feat in human history. It involves a reclusive billionaire, a fake mining industry, a burglary that ruins everything, and a giant mechanical claw named Clementine. It is a heist played out on the floor of the world, where the prize is not gold, but the nuclear soul of the enemy. The stakes are absolute. The Cold War is not merely a political standoff. It is a race for technological omniscience. The doctrine of mutually assured destruction, MAD, relies on the premise that both sides can annihilate the other. But if one side can read the other's mind, the balance shifts. The K-129 is a prize of incalculable value. It is a Gulf II class boat, a transitionary technology between the crude early missile subs and the terrifying Yankee and Delta classes that follow. It carries the R-21 missiles, liquid-fueled rockets with a range of roughly 750-900 nautical miles. If the United States recovers these missiles intact, they dissect the guidance systems, analyze the fuel chemistry, and understand the yield capabilities of Soviet first-strike weapons. They learn exactly how accurate the Soviet hammer is. But the missiles are just the hardware. The true prize, the family jewels, is the cryptographic material. Every submarine carries codebooks, cipher machines, and operational manuals. If the United States recovers these from the K-129, they read the backlog of intercepted Soviet naval communications. Breaking the codes of the Soviet ballistic missile fleet grants the U.S. Navy a godlike view of their adversaries' movements and intentions. The mission is not just about salvaging a wreck. It is about stealing the enemy's playbook. However, the physical reality of the target is daunting. The deepest submarine salvage prior to this is the USS Squalus from a mere 245 feet. The K-129 lies at 16,500 feet. At that depth, the water pressure is approximately 7,300 pounds per square inch. The environment is one of total darkness, near-freezing temperatures, and alien topography. The sheer weight of the water column is enough to warp steel and crush titanium. To reach it, the CIA must rewrite the laws of ocean engineering. Before the heist can be planned, the target must be visually confirmed. The triangulation by SOSUS is accurate, but not precise enough to drop a grapple. The ocean floor is a landscape of mountains, trenches, and silt. A mile-wide error margin means failure. July 1968. The Navy dispatches the USS Halibut, SSN 587, under the codename Operation Sand Dollar. The Halibut is a unique, strange beast in the U.S. fleet. Originally built as a Regulus cruise missile submarine, it has a massive hangar on its deck, a bat cave that once housed nuclear missiles. With the Regulus program canceled, the Halibut is converted into a spy sub for the Deep Submergence Group. The bat cave is repurposed to house a massive winch and a sophisticated remotely operated vehicle, ROV, known as the Fish. The Fish is a 12-foot, 2-ton sled equipped with cameras, strobe lights, and side-scan sonar. It is towed behind the Halibut on a cable that extends for miles. For weeks, the Halibut trawls the abyss. The operation is excruciatingly tense. The submarine sails slow and low, dragging its sensor sled just above the erratic seafloor. A single mistake in navigation smashes the Fish into a seamount or tangles the cable in the propellers. The crew lives in a state of high anxiety, operating a nuclear submarine like a deep-sea trawler. August 1968. The persistence pays off. The cameras on the Fish send back grainy, strobe-lit images that confirm the impossible. There, in the silt, lies the K-129. It is not a debris field of unrecognizable shards. The submarine is broken, but large sections are intact. The photos, codenamed Velvet Fist, are stunning. They reveal the sail, the missile tubes, and the hull. In a grim detail that underscores the human cost, the cameras also capture the skeleton of a Soviet sailor, still in his gear, lying on the ocean floor near the wreck. The Halibut returns with over 20,000 photographs. The intelligence community now has visual proof. The target is real. The location is precise. The Soviets have abandoned the search. The wreck is ownerless in the eyes of the opportunists at the CIA. The Navy, despite finding the sub, admits they have no technology to raise a 2,000-ton object from 3 miles down. They propose using small, unmanned vehicles to loot specific components, grab a codebook here, a missile part there, but the Department of Defense wants the whole submarine. They want the missiles, the encryption gear, the manuals, everything. The problem is handed to the CIA's Directorate of Science and Technology, DS&T, the wizards who built the U-2 spy plane and the Corona spy satellites. The project is placed under the command of John Parangoski and Carl E. Duckett. These are men who specialize in the impossible. They are given a blank check and a mandate of absolute secrecy. The engineering challenge is staggering. The CIA engineers consider various methods: buoyancy, pumping the hull with buoyant foam or attaching pontoon balloons. This is rejected because the pressure at 16,000 feet crushes almost any foam, and the unpredictability of the lift is too high. Gas generation. generating gas in situ to lift the hull. Rejected for similar reasons of control. The brute force lift. The engineers, led by global Marine and CIA technical leads, decide on the most mechanically complex but theoretically controllable method, a giant claw. They lower a pipe string, miles of steel pipe screwed together section by section, from a massive surface ship. At the bottom is a capture vehicle, the claw, that grabs the submarine and pulls it up. It is like trying to lower a grappling hook from the top of the Empire State Building to snag a compact car on the street below, in the dark, in a gale. But to build a ship the size of an aircraft carrier, park it in the middle of the Pacific for months, and pull up a Soviet nuclear submarine without the Russians noticing requires a cover. The strategy is simple. Hide a lie inside a bigger, louder lie. The CIA needs a cover story that explains the existence of a massive, unique ship with a derrick, a moon pool, and deep-sea lifting capability. They invent an industry, deep-sea manganese nodule mining. Manganese nodules are potato-sized rocks rich in minerals found on the ocean floor. In the 1970s, they are a scientific curiosity, but not commercially viable. The CIA decides to pretend that they are the next gold rush. To make the lie sell, they need a frontman who is wealthy enough to fund such a venture, eccentric enough to do it without explaining himself to a board of directors, and patriotic enough to keep a secret. There is only one man, Howard Hughes. Hughes, the recluse billionaire, agrees to lend his name and his company, the Summa Corporation, to the project. The CIA pays the bills, laundered through complex channels, but to the world, this is just another one of Hughes's mad, brilliant ventures. The deception is total. The media swallows the story whole. Universities begin teaching courses on deep-sea mining. Stock prices of other mining companies fluctuate based on the progress of Hughes's ship. The CIA has not just camouflaged a ship. They have hallucinated an entire economic sector into existence to hide a heist. The ship built for this deception is the Hughes Glomar Explorer, HGE, built at Sun Shipbuilding in Chester, Pennsylvania. It is a marvel of engineering. Launched in 1972, it is 618 feet long with a 116-foot beam. This is not just a ship. It is a floating machine shop, a precision instrument, and a fortress. It is packed with innovations that are now standard in offshore drilling but are science fiction in 1972. The most distinctive feature of the Glomar Explorer is the moon pool. This is a massive internal hangar, 199 feet long, located in the center of the ship and open to the sea at the bottom. This allows the capture vehicle and the submarine to be pulled up inside the ship, hidden from Soviet spy satellites and passing aircraft. Once the prize is inside, the massive doors on the bottom of the hull close, the water is pumped out, and the submarine is examined in dry conditions, all while the ship is still at sea. The ship must hold a 3-mile-long steel pipe steady while rolling in the Pacific swells. If the ship pitches up, the pipe snaps. If it pitches down, the pipe buckles. To solve this, the entire derrick and lift system are mounted on a massive gimbal, a bearing system that isolates the lifting pipe from the rolling of the ship. The gimbaled platform, a 40 x 40 foot outer ring and an inner ring supported by massive bearings, allow the derrick to remain perfectly vertical like a gyroscope, regardless of the ship's angle. The heave compensator, a system of hydraulic rams with a 15-foot stroke that act as shock absorbers, paying out or retracting the pipe to keep the tension constant as the ship rises and falls on the waves. The ship must stay perfectly still over a specific spot on the ocean floor while buffeted by waves and currents. Anchors are useless at 16,000 feet. The Glomar Explorer uses a network of bottom transponders and thrusters controlled by a computer to hold its position automatically. This dynamic positioning system is decades ahead of its time, allowing the ship to hover within a few feet of its target despite the vast depth. The control room of the Glomar Explorer is a scene of blinking lights and complex readouts, monitoring the stress on every pipe joint and the position of every thruster. The crew nicknames the complex handling system or the switching station the Christmas tree, a nod to the festive array of warning lights that govern the delicate operation. The claw itself is named Clementine. It is a massive steel structure with hydraulic fingers designed to wrap around the hull of the K-129. It is too big to be installed on the Glomar Explorer in public view. If Soviet satellites see a giant claw on the deck of a mining ship, the game is up. To hide Clementine, the CIA builds a submersible barge, the HMB-1, Hughes mining barge. Clementine is built inside the HMB-1 under a roof. The barge is towed to a quiet cove near Catalina Island and submerged onto stabilizing piers on the seafloor. The Glomar Explorer then sails over the submerged barge, opens its moon pool doors, and winches Clementine up into its belly from underwater. The transfer is invisible. To the outside world, the Glomar Explorer is empty. In reality, it is loaded with the largest grappling hook in history. Summer, 1974. After years of construction and millions of dollars, the machine is ready. The Glomar Explorer departs Long Beach, ostensibly to mine rocks. Its destination is the grave of the K-129. July 4, 1974, Independence Day. The Glomar Explorer arrives at the site. The symbolism of the date is likely lost on the exhausted crew, a mix of roughneck drillers and CIA specialists who begin the arduous process of lowering the pipe string. Section by section, stand by stand, the pipe goes down. It takes days to reach the bottom. The operation is not lonely. The Soviets are suspicious. A Soviet missile range instrumentation ship, the Chazma, and later a naval tug, the SB-10, arrive to investigate. They circle the massive American ship. They launch helicopters that buzz the derrick, taking photographs. They demand to know what Hughes is doing. The Glomar crew sticks to the script. They radio back that they are conducting mining tests. They even pile manganese nodules on the deck to prove it. The Soviet tug captain, watching through binoculars, sees a mining ship doing mining things. He cannot imagine that 3 miles below his keel, a giant claw is positioning itself over his country's lost submarine. The tension in the Christmas tree control room is palpable. If the Soviets drag a grapple of their own, or if they realize what happens, the unarmed Glomar is defenseless. Eventually, the Soviet ships depart, satisfied, or at least unable to justify further harassment. The Glomar Explorer is alone with its prize. Clementine lands on the K-129. The operators in the control room, watching via deep-sea cameras with strobe lights, guide the hydraulic fingers around the submarine's hull. The fingers dig into the sediment and clamp onto the steel. The lift begins. The hydraulic heavy lift system groans under the strain. The weight is immense, millions of pounds of steel, water, and mud. The pipe string creaks. The ship's automatic station-keeping thrusters fire constantly to keep the line vertical. At this depth, the pipe string behaves like a wet noodle, stretching under its own weight. The resonance of the steel pipe singing under tension is a constant, unnerving sound for the crew. Slowly, the K-129 rises from the abyss. 1,000 feet, 5,000 feet, 8,000 feet. The operation proceeds perfectly. The Glomar team begins to believe they have actually pulled it off. Then, disaster strikes. At roughly 6,000 to 9,000 feet from the surface, the unthinkable happens. The claw fingers are made of miraging steel, an ultra-strong alloy that is incredibly tough but brittle. It does not stretch, it snaps. Whether due to a flaw in the manufacturing, the uneven stress of the broken submarine hull, or the sheer weight of the waterlogged prize, the fingers fail. There is a shudder felt through the ship, a massive acoustic shock wave that rings through the hull. 2/3 of the submarine breaks off. The aft section, containing the missile tubes, the code room, and the control center, the primary intelligence targets, slips from Clementine's grasp. It tumbles back down into the darkness, shattering on impact with the sea floor, lost forever. The Glomar Explorer is left holding only the forward section, the nose of the submarine. It contains the torpedo tubes and, tragically, the bunk room. The crew, heartbroken but professional, hauls the remaining section into the moon pool. When the water is pumped out and the moon pool doors close, they examine their catch. They fail to get the missiles. They fail to get the cryptographic machines, but they recover 2 nuclear-tipped torpedoes and some documents. And they recover the crew. Inside the mangled wreckage of the forward section, the CIA recovery team finds the bodies of 6 Soviet submariners. They are preserved by the cold and pressure, victims of a tragedy 6 years old. In a moment of profound humanity that transcends the ruthless politics of the Cold War, the CIA does not treat these men as intelligence assets or debris. They treat them as sailors. The bodies are removed. A formal burial at sea is organized on the deck of the Glomar Explorer. A Soviet naval flag is sourced. The service is read in Russian and English. The Soviet national anthem plays over the ship's speakers, echoing over the empty Pacific. The ceremony is filmed in color. The video, declassified decades later, shows American intelligence officers and roughnecks standing in respectful silence as the bodies of their enemies are committed back to the deep. Chief Warrant Officer Jim Reeb, the translator, speaks the words, "We therefore commit these crew members of this ship to a proper resting place to join the Valhalla of sea heroes who have gone before them." It is a secret record of respect that remains classified for nearly 20 years. The CIA wants to go back. They plan Operation Matador to retrieve the rest of the sub. They believe they can fix the claw and try again. But fate, in the form of common criminals, intervenes. June 1974. Just before the Glomar Explorer sails for the lift, thieves break into the Summa Corporation offices on Romaine Street in Los Angeles. They look for cash. They crack the safes and find something far more valuable, secret documents, including a memo describing the CIA's project to raise a Soviet submarine. The thieves don't know what they have, but they know it is valuable. They try to extort the CIA. The police get involved. The FBI gets involved. The circle of secrecy widens until it snaps. Investigative journalist Jack Anderson and reporter Seymour Hersh catch wind of the story. CIA Director William Colby desperately tries to suppress the story, pleading national security. He argues that revealing the operation forces the Soviets to respond, potentially igniting a war. February 1975. The Los Angeles Times breaks the story. The cover is blown. The world learns that the mining ship is a spy ship. The fallout is immediate. The White House is bombarded with Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, requests. They are in a trap. If they admit they stole the sub, it is an act of war, piracy. If they deny it, they are lying, and the Soviets know it. A CIA lawyer named Walt Logan crafts a legal response that becomes legendary. It is designed to say absolutely nothing while saying everything. We can neither confirm nor deny the existence of the information requested, but hypothetically, if such data were to exist, the subject matter would be classified and could not be disclosed. This is the birth of the Glomar response. It allows the government to refuse to even acknowledge whether records exist. It becomes the standard shield for government secrecy, used to this day for everything from drone strikes to UFO investigations. The Soviets are humiliated. They watched the ship. They bought the cover story. Their intelligence services failed to protect their own dead. When the story breaks, a Soviet naval attaché reportedly tells a U.S. counterpart at a cocktail party, "If you go back there, it would mean war." The Glomar Explorer never returns to the site. The second mission is canceled. The remaining 2/3 of K-129, with its missiles and codes, remain on the bottom of the Pacific to this day. Project Azorian is, on paper, a failure. It costs billions, roughly $4 billion in today's money, and fails to retrieve the primary intelligence targets. The claw breaks. The sub falls. The cover is blown. But in the nuance of history, it is a staggering display of capability. The United States demonstrates that it can reach anywhere. There is no sanctuary, not even the bottom of the ocean. It forces the Soviet Union to spend billions upgrading their own submarine security and paranoia, fearing that any lost asset can be harvested by the Americans. The engineering legacy is undeniable. The technology developed for the Glomar Explorer, dynamic positioning, heavy lift hydraulics, deep-sea handling, kickstarts the modern offshore oil and gas industry. Deep water oil drilling exists today because the CIA tried to steal a submarine in 1974. But the enduring legacy is not the technology or the politics. It is the humanity found in the heist. In the middle of the fiercest ideological conflict of the 20th century, a group of American spies and engineers stand on the deck of a secret ship, play the anthem of their enemy, and pray for the souls of the men they disturbed. This act demonstrates that beneath the uniforms, the flags, and the billion-dollar machines, the ocean is a graveyard, and sailors, Russian or American, belong to the same tribe when the water closes over their heads.